Meghan, meanwhile, we're told, is going to take part in some International Women's Day panel with Brooke Shields and a couple of other interesting characters.
Yes, so we had the announcement that Meghan is taking part in a panel at a festival called SXSW, South by Southwest. It's taking place on Friday, which is International Women's Day. She's going to be sitting on the panel alongside the actress Brooke Shields, as you mentioned, but also the US journalist and broadcaster Katie Couric. And she's going to be discussing the representation of women in the media and entertainment, and just looking at the biog introducing her, they say that she is a feminist and champion of human rights and gender equity, New York Times best-selling author and co-founder of the Archwell Foundation. She's the first name on the list. She's headlining this panel. It will certainly be interesting to see what she has to say about some of those issues when she's sitting there on that panel. But when you read her bio, you can see certainly how she is channeling herself. She's
Yes.
under new management. We've been told there's set to be a rebrand. Certainly these avenues are ones that she'd like to pursue.
Yes, exactly right. And meanwhile, finally, King Charles, reparations, the Commonwealth, you know, the story that won't go away, really, and nobody can seemingly figure out where it's all going to end.
Well, it's not going to end and it's not going to go away, is it, Mike? Because those calls for an apology and for reparations for Britain's role in the international transatlantic slave trade are getting louder and louder, and they can't ignore them. Any visit that a member of the royal family undertakes to a former colony, those questions are being asked, and they're being asked loudly. I get the sense that the king doesn't want to ignore them either. I think we've certainly had a shift and more engagement on this from this new era than we did from the late Queen. We're told that the king is giving his support to an independent research project on the British monarchy's involvement in slavery. He has addressed it previously on visits to Rwanda, to Barbados. He also talked about the historic wrongs of the past when he was in Kenya last year as well. He's expressed profound sorrow and his deep distress. What he hasn't done is said sorry. And why is sorry the hardest word for them? As the head of state, he has to toe the government party line, and it's not government policy to apologise. Rishi Sunak says it's not helpful to go back over the past. We need to think about the future. And so it's a very difficult one for the king to navigate. I don't know whether there's any nuance between him being able potentially to apologise for his own family's personal involvement in the slave trade, or whether that then gets him too involved in politics as well. But certainly other aristocratic families are doing it. The Trevelyan family, one of the latest one. Other monarchs are doing it as well. The King of the Netherlands has apologised for his country's involvement in the slave trade. And if the king were to speak out on an issue like this, well, it would have huge implications, wouldn't it? He could be a real architect for change, but at this stage, the word sorry is one that they're just not able to utter.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason for that, Sarah, is that if they say sorry, then it then follows that they may have to pay reparations on top of the sorry, which of course would have to come not out of the king's money, but out of taxpayers' funds. So I think that's part of the problem as well. So, but I'm sure we'll be talking about it again soon, because it's not going to go away, as you say, and nobody's going to say sorry as of yet.